The fight for 15 and fairness is so important, not just for me, but the people that I care about, the people I see in the community. I've had employers say, be more frugal, and it's because people expect too much. I don't think that it's too much to expect a decent life. In my own life, I've been hired to do 2 jobs, paid for 1. Constant schedule changes, no notice of those changes, weird vacation days or no vacation days, having to do work and not being paid to do so.
A lot of the things we had to do were, the legality was a little bit questionable, like some of the cleaning things we had to do, the types of shift work we had to do where we were working alone and doing the job of more than one person. It was really stressful. There was just a lot of responsibility put on us when really like the managers and the owners should have stepped in and also, done things to ensure our safety.
When I got out of university, I worked a 1-year contract, which was nice while it lasted. And then it ended, and there was no chance of getting rehired or moving on in that position. Now the job that I have, it is permanent, but it's 12-hour days and it doesn't pay that well, and benefits are pretty meager. So at the moment, I'm lucky to have a job, but definitely keeping my eye out for other things.
I've been an intern on farms for 2 years, and that's always, very low earning, and you're getting your pay based on accommodation and room and board. And if you're talking about food co-ops and all those things, that's also precarious work, because a lot of food co-ops and food initiatives are so heavy, rely on government funding, which can be taken away very, very quickly. So the food industry right now is a very tough one to be in.
Well, like I said, I've been a cab driver for almost 17 years now. I worked for 3 different companies. Two companies I filed claims with the Ministry of Labor, and I won both my claims. One for unpaid minimum wages. Another company I was fired because I was trying to get a union. They tried to deny my termination pay, and I filed my claim and won. And also I got denied my EI, and I appealed that, and I won that as well.
I would say with these kinds of employments where you're working for minimum wage, people tend to take advantage of you, especially when you're young and uneducated. So you don't have any real protection. It's not like there's, in these places I've worked, there's an HR department, so you can't really file any complaints.
You got to pay at least the minimum wage or higher, and a lot of people put long hours in. Some people put 70 hours a week just barely to make ends meet, and it's crazy.
In terms of the pay, I'm definitely getting by, but it's rough. I mean, if I took a week off work because because something happened or because I was sick or something like that, I probably wouldn't be able to pay my rent next month. So it's very kind of paycheck to paycheck.
You might be making what seems like okay money, but several $100s a month maybe in different types of medical expenses can add up pretty quickly. The hardest part is the availability of jobs and the ability to get around in a cost-effective manner.
The climate up here is not necessarily the best, and that doesn't get factored in to how workers are able to get to work, how they're able to perform their jobs. Specifically in Sudbury, our transportation system is subpar. It is insufficient.
In a city like Sudbury that I personally feel is very car dependent, if you end up needing to drive around, there's another huge expense. I mean, I'm glad I work downtown because I can just walk to work every day, but if I had to drive to work, I would probably just leave an hour earlier and walk.
If I were making even a little bit more money, for example, I can drive, but I don't have a vehicle, which in Sudbury, Northern Ontario, is really rough. In winter, I'll have to walk to work, which is fine. It's only about 20 minutes, but when you work at 7 a.m., the sidewalks are not going to be plowed. So obviously living up here, the price of gas is a little bit higher, and worrying about insurance and all those related costs and stuff. So it'd be really nice to be able to afford the costs associated with a vehicle.
When your only option is hey, I have to drive or I can't get to work and I'm not making a lot of money, it's almost like you're kind of working to pay for your car. And then you have to add in the fact that the cost of living is higher up here. It costs more to eat, to eat a healthy diet, and everyone really deserves to eat a healthy diet.
I'm part of like Eat Local Sudbury, and I'd really like to be able to afford to buy locally, but that's really difficult when you don't make a lot of money because that food tends to be a little bit more expensive. So you kind of just have to, especially if you don't have a vehicle, you kind of just have to go with what's close to you and like what's affordable and stuff.
If they were able to buy ecologically grown food and maybe more locally grown food, that would strengthen our local economy. You know, more food dollars staying in the community, going to local farmers, and going towards the ecological food movement, which is a very important one right now.
If there was fairness, if there was a reasonable minimum wage, then I wouldn't have to focus so much energy and time on thinking, am I going to be able to sustain my life?
Going back 20-some years, bringing the minimum wage from $3.50 to $4 and saying, oh God, everything's going to go crashing down. But you always hear that same argument all the time. So I believe the minimum wage would be definitely benefit my life. And everyone else is around. And I think employers too. There are some that may argue that, but they'll have more productivity, less turnover. Well, people will be able to spend more money in the economy. And that's been proven time and time again.
There's definitely no guarantee that I'm going to be able to get a job in my field anytime soon. I am going to end up working a low-wage job after graduation. And how are you supposed to get ahead if you're making $11, $14 an hour? It's not possible.